Hi, this is Harrison Klein, and I'm here with MaxSimon. We're going to talk about something which is very dear to my heart, which is instantaneous transformation. The idea of whether or not we can actually spontaneously heal, spontaneously have a transformation and become something new, a bigger version, a better version, a different version of ourselves, and can we use that to become something that we could use for greater wealth, for greater prosperity, for greater self-esteem, etc., etc. So I just want to get your take on it. So this is MaxSimon. He's been through a whole lot of experiences with people, with businesses. He's been a great transformationalist in many ways, and so I want to get his take on it. Here we are. Hi, Max.
Hi.
Hi. So what do you think of that? What's your take on instant transformation? Is such a thing possible, and does it work?
Yeah. I think the answer is yes and no.
Okay.
I think the answer is yes because I've witnessed so many times, and in my own experience too, that in a moment people can unlock, years of guilt and shame, and that people can break through their own kind of barriers to wealth consciousness, and that they can heal parts of themselves, and it literally is in a moment. The reason it's no is because, one, I find it takes a lot of time for people to open up to the possibility of it happening. Actually, John Assaraf told me this once. He said, I've gotten out of the convincing business.
Right.
Because I think a lot of times people feel like they need to be convinced in order to have a transformation. There's a lack of openness. And so sometimes breaking down those walls, being willing to put away the beliefs that it can't happen, or that it can't happen to me, or that it can't happen now, takes some time. But I'll say this, the more open you can be to possibility, the more open you can be to transformation, the more instantaneous it can happen. So the answer is absolutely yes, if and only if there's a real openness to it actually transpiring for you right now.
So when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and if we are in a space of receiving, we can use the stimulation to make the next jump in our consciousness.
And I think it's also just, I know this because of my own experience. I'm one of the most skeptical people I know.
I know you are. You're terribly skeptical.
I'm terribly skeptical. I'm terribly skeptical. And that blocks my transformation sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's not just about being open to receiving, it's about realizing that sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And being strong enough and courageous enough, actually, and powerful enough to admit when we don't know something. And that, I think, is one of the hardest parts of being willing or open to receiving, is that we have such strong minds, such strong egos, that declare so much of what we do know, this little nice, neat category over here, and then all the stuff we don't know doesn't exist, or it can't exist.
We don't recognize it.
Yeah, it can't be possible.
Right.
And part of this instant transformation is actually being willing to be strong enough to say, all right, even if this is what I think I know, I'm going to completely surrender to the fact that there's other things that I don't know. Mm-hmm. And that's tricky.
It is tricky. What if now somebody comes into a space where they are looking to make a transformation? They're looking to do something different with their lives, with their mentality, with their wealth, et cetera, et cetera. So they're open to this place, but they don't know. Does it take an outside stimulus to make that leap available, or is it still an internal process where they have to state or declare or allow whatever the process is for them, how that works? Can you kind of address that? Because I imagine it's all three for different people.
Yeah, I think that one of the greatest lessons I've learned is that there's only so far my own kind of presence can take me in my transformation. And so the reason I come to events like this, and the reason I show up for programs and am consistently investing in my own growth, is because I am personally very supported by external, pushes. Mm-hmm. And it's got to be aligned with that same internal drive. And I just was having dinner with Bob Proctor the other day, and I asked Bob, I said, you've been doing this arguably the longest of anybody I know in this industry, and he's been 40, 50 years as one of the leaders. I said, what is the greatest thing you've learned? He said, never stop being a student. That was his one, without any hesitation, never stop being a student. And so I think, I think that there's a part of it which is your own driving desire for transformation.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the environment that you're in, which is massively necessary for your transformation. And then I think it's the external influences and the guidance and the wisdom that you're being given that facilitates the transformation. And it might sound kind of complex, but the truth is, if you open yourself up, you show up at the right places, and you find the right mentors or leaders, all that can then create this instant transformational experience very quickly.
And do you have a defining moment in your life that has made an instantaneous transformation for you, or defining moments?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many at this point. I mean, right now we're in this period. I mean, we were just talking about this coming up here. This is a massive expansion period for me and my business. You know,
for all of us,
we're
doing the planet.
You know, we're doing things
Yeah.
that's for quite frankly scare the hell out of me, because it's such risk. You know, I mean, I just last month we put out $80,000 in investment for these projects coming out. Scary. And
Yeah.
those are defining moments. And so I wouldn't even say that there's one. I'd say, in fact, I keep telling my students this these days, that just because you get to this level doesn't mean that all of a sudden the stretching and the growing and even the fear stops. It just gets bigger.
Yeah.
And so now I'm in a bigger defining moment of just taking a further leap forward to create the kind of reality that I'm most excited by.
But isn't it also a point of fact that when you exercise the courage to make that decision, exercise the courage and then follow through on that in itself can be a defining moment. That in itself can give you an instantaneous transformation, because you experience what that is the opening willingness to accept, because that's what it does.
I mean, every time I go after something that I haven't experienced before, it doesn't even matter what the result is, that's a new defining moment.
Yes, it is.
You know, I'm now so continuously surprised by the amount of leaps I continue to take, and the fact that it doesn't seem to be getting any easier. The leaps just seem to be getting bigger.
Yeah, you go further and further each leap.
Now I'm seeing
It's
how
like
far I can go.
It's like
now.
a distance leapfrog.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Well, one other thing I want to ask you about, because it's going to be a short video, it's just to say hello to you guys. I wanted to ask you about, you know that my niche is basically working with the I am transformation and the I am principle. So in your experience, and I know you've had a lot because of what you've gone through with your dad and everybody else, do you have things that you tell yourself in your self-talk that you attach the words I am?
Yeah. I mean...
What are your biggest I ams? Give me a couple of those.
Yeah, I mean, I think my mom did a fantastic... It's funny you're saying that. I was just thinking about this morning when Bo was talking. I was just thinking about how my mom did a fantastic job of helping me realize that I am capable. And so, I think a lot of times, at least in my world, the biggest fear is this going to work? Like, we're doing all this stuff, we're taking all these leaps, we're going in this new... Is it going to work? And that I am capable reminds me that it almost doesn't matter if it works, it's just the knowing that I'm capable of doing it, I'm capable of going for it, I'm capable of doing my best at it. So I'm capable has been really useful to me. I am centered has been really useful to me, because I tend to get very caught up in all the everything.
Yeah. Well,
So I am centered is particularly relevant to me. And I think, it's not even I am, but I think I see possibility would be a variation of it, because to me it's so easy to, as we talked about before, be very critical and very clear on what we think we know. And I'm constantly reminding myself that I see possibility. I don't know what's going to happen next, and that's been very useful for me to continue to move forward. Yeah.
As was being discussed earlier, not today with you, but we discussed earlier with Srini, that we stay into a place of understanding possibilities, and as long as we're in the level of possibilities, our consciousness is working for us. When we are not looking at the possibilities, then we're actually counterintuiting our ways to become instantaneously transformed.
Yeah.
I think so. That's really good. So I wanted to just say, to you guys, that Max is a meditation expert, a business systems expert, and he is an amazing personality, guys. So hopefully we will see you with Max at the next Masters Gathering, Instantaneous Transformation. We'll debate this further, and we'll talk about how, when, and techniques, strategies, and mindsets to do that. Thank you, Max, for being here. Appreciate it.
great.
Have a great, awesome.